And like so many here, scarred by the past, he recounts his own personal nightmare, having to smother a 3-year-old child as he fled Indian Kashmir.
We crossed 12,000 highest mountain in 5 days. We was 1,400 people. We killed a 3-year-old baby in the way because we are crossing. The Indian army was the nearest hour in the way, and baby started to weep, and we forced their boat only for 3 minutes. And when we started 200 yards behind the army, we see he was died. And I told to his mother, because we have sent your son back to his grandmother, so she don't know.
It's a harrowing tale of sacrifice and survival, but one that's impossible to verify. Raja says the mother of the dead boy now lives in the camp and takes us to meet her, warning that she's still unaware of her son's fate. Bewildered by all the sudden attention, there's very little to say. Next stop on our trek south, Islamabad, the capital of a nation now desperately racing to mount nuclear warheads on missiles. Missiles named after Muslim warlords who conquered ancient India.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be an arms race. I would say it's a new balance of terror in South Asia, similar to the one you had in Europe after World War II between the Soviets and the Americans, and which held the peace for 50 years.
But not everyone cheerfully subscribes to the so-called balance of terror. Strategic analyst Dr. Samina Ahmed watches Islamabad's political machinations with a growing sense of dread. Dr. Ahmed says the nuclear balance is a dangerous myth.
And in the context of India and Pakistan, it doesn't even begin to apply. This is now an extremely unsafe place. If anything has introduced an element of instability in this region, it has been a conventional arms race, and now even more so a nuclear arms race between India and Pakistan.
Information Minister Mushahid Sayed is a powerful figure in the government of Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. He's keen to project an image of a government in control of the mounting crisis and in charge of the military, which has dominated political life here for 50 years.
We have a regular institutional system of communication. At the political level, between the two prime ministers, there's a hotline, and also at the military level, between the military operations chiefs of both armies. So that's not a problem. We've known each other for 50 years. We have fought wars also. We've talked peace also. We have negotiated also. So we're not strangers to each other.
You have very short warning times. We've had an incident last year when an Indian fighter plane broke through Pakistani airspace. We heard the sonic boom right here in Islamabad, and then went back into Indian airspace, and it could not be intercepted. And any attack means that there will be very short warning time, and a decision has to be taken very quickly. And as we've seen in the past, neither the Indian or the Pakistani political leadership is really mature enough to take those kind of decisions under that kind of pressure. That increases the danger of using nuclear weapons in a first strike capability.
And so to our final destination, the only Pakistan-India border crossing still open, at Wagah in the Punjab. Given the killing a few hundred kilometres up the road, this is perhaps the most bizarre ritual on the subcontinent. Every day at sunset, the opposing armies engage in a kind of parade ground test match, complete with spectators. In one sense, this is the world's biggest divorce settlement. It's half a century since the British Raj was carved up into Muslim Pakistan and Hindu-dominated India. Yet they're still fighting over ownership of Kashmir. And like a divorced couple, when the formalities are over, there may be a tingling sense of nostalgia. A brief realisation that perhaps the differences were not so great after all. Maybe it's an unrealistic outlook, given the half-century of bloodshed here. But in this nuclear age, the alternative is far too terrible to contemplate.